Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we're doing a reading on subconscious messages and what wants to come up. We have 4 piles today. It's this black obsidian rock square, this beautiful crystal for 2, pyrite, all right, and pile 4. Yeah, I'm so excited for this reading. I look forward to seeing you in a pile. Hey, pile 1, if you chose this beautiful black obsidian crystal, then this is your reading on subconscious messages coming up for you. So yeah, we're gonna look at what your subconscious wants to come through to you today, and we'll see what comes up, and then we'll move on to the tarot and ask questions depending on really what comes up here. So I just checked to see if it was recording again. Something about double checking when maybe you need to confirm something coming up. So we have the medallion. There's a song, "In a room full of people, I look for you. When the sun comes out, do you look for me too?" Keeper of transformation and acceptance. Letting things align. Okay. You can't help there's something here about being powerless over certain situations that come up in your life. I think you're somebody who feels like you should attack things head on, who, when something happens, really address the problem and go full force at it. What I'm seeing here is your subconscious is saying that there's some things that have come in or are coming in that are obstacles that you don't want, that are, to your perception, not ideal. For some reason, for your group really clearly, I'm seeing kind of a topside world and an underside world, which would be the subconscious. And in this underside world, there's all of these nuggets of gold. And all of these nuggets are all the same color, same size, and some of them have these beautiful things we perceive as blessings. Some are these obstacles, some are these limits in perception, and we pick them up and we carry them to this world, and that's where they manifest and we see it physically. So we could even say this isn't in the mind, this is in like the faded side of the universe. We pull up these nuggets and that's what we don't know what we're gonna get. It's like it's like the life is like a box of chocolates. You'll never know what you're gonna get. But yeah, okay, I'm seeing someone really good-natured coming in. Someone with a very pure heart. And you can trust that this pure heart is there with pure intent. We'll look at that further in the tarot. And even we could see that in you. Look, these women are mirroring. You have this pure heart as well. So back to the medallion. There's things that are coming up in your life that were destined to happen, destined to experience, that you didn't see coming. I think that there's this haze over not knowing what's happening in the subconscious, not knowing what's going to appear. This card talks a lot about subconscious messages coming up in the dream world and having dreams that tell you, that speak to you in metaphor of what's going on in your life. And I love that thought. I always, when I have a very vivid dream that I feel like I'm clearly meant to remember. Dream analysis is like very interesting to me, and there's something whimsical about it. Yeah, maybe you're trying to balance this whimsy and this difficulty of not being able to see what comes up or why it comes up, not having control of if you're picking the nuggets you like or nuggets you don't, in your free will. And that's just not in your control what comes up. And it does feel like you need to get back a little on this side of, I'm not meant to know, there's meant to be a haze over this, and it's not in my control that this exists. Like, this array of experiences exists, and I'll perceive some as bad and some as good, but I can't control that all of them are here. And that's what I think is happening, is there's experiences, there's lessons you're learning that are difficult, that feel bad, that bring uncomfortable emotions. And you're experiencing kind of the lessons of it, the experience of it. It's coming into your conscious mind. Like, these subconscious experiences have become conscious. You're conscious of them and conscious of the subconscious reasons they've happened. You're just having a level of self-awareness. And when you get this awareness, you might have trouble. You do have trouble with faulting yourself for not seeing this. And not just faulting yourself, more so feeling as though you should have had. Yeah, there's some self-blame here, self-criticism. Because once you have this conscious awareness, you can see other patterns in your life, like, that kind of show this coming. It's kind of like hindsight's 2020. We can see very clearly from the objective view of the present what has happened. And yeah, speaking of 2020, I need to get contacts. I am wearing my glasses. I love my glasses, but it is time for a different mode of viewing. So yeah, there's something about friendship here, how maybe relationships in your life, what you're really meant to focus on is the companionship and warmth and security, meeting people where they're at and not how you wish it to be. Now I'm thinking about how back, like, billions and billions of years ago, maybe billions, maybe not. Well, the universe is like 13.7 billion years old. But humans, we've evolved from fish-like creatures back when life first grew on Earth. And those fish-like creatures had no control over what happened to them. They just grew and lived. They grew like a flower. They experienced life as it happened, as it was. And obviously there wasn't the layer of consciousness of perceiving these things happening and perceiving life around you and things getting all complicated with that. And so the subconscious, I think, is talking here about that experience of instinct, experience of kind of growing as a flower without thought, and then the transference of our observation of us growing as that flower. And yeah, there's just some anger about like, oh, I should have seen that coming. Oh, I could have. Or you somehow feel like your subconscious register it like with remembrance, and you feel like you feel that feeling, and you're like, dang, like I should have had more of a grip on this coming into reality. This is just like complete like wanting control over things that have happened and being prepared for anything. Yeah, this is like really you want to be prepared for anything mindset, and it's difficult whenever things come up and you have clarity in hindsight. And yeah, this is where Spirit's asking you to practice acceptance, and that this is a process that happens in life that is unavoidable. This is how life operates, and this process can't be subverted, or we have to let this happen in our experience. And maybe there's some resistance here, you resisting kind of letting these things in, maybe resisting these gold nuggets coming in for fear of your way of handling them, of not knowing them, of really wanting control over the nuggets in your life. It's so funny that this is coming out as nuggets. But now I'm thinking about bones and milk and strength. So I feel that you're meant to be more open to collecting these nuggets of life, these experiences, not knowing what's going to happen, but having acceptance over what will, not fearing it. Letting this transformation take place, not resisting it. This is really cool too, because this is a transformation of what could be into what is. And I'm also just seeing like every nugget, everything in our subconscious is very connected. And so when anything comes out, it has a remembrance to it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that was what you should have had any idea that specific one was what was going to come out, that specific experience. So maybe there's also like patterns you think are happening in your life, and then it turns out to go another way. And that clarity is kind of striking for you. Maybe that also gives you peace in a way that you wouldn't expect, for things to go differently in that way. To find that maybe there is a relief in that lack of control in some ways. So subconscious awareness becoming conscious awareness. This is a process that's meant to strengthen you. It's not something against you. And I think the way we can perceive it as against us is when we look at mistakes we made without this conscious awareness. And I think these nuggets coming up here, these experiences, are to say that they would have happened regardless. You had to experience it. And you should not blame your past self for this subconscious behavior. Because when it comes into consciousness, it's easy to have so much shame and difficulty with it. But the Virgin's milk here, like there's such an innocence. You were innocent in this moment. And because it's entering a new state and you see it in a different way, it's easy to transfer this shame onto this innocent state of being. And it's almost as though like the universe is asking you to allow this state to stay innocent and look at it for what it is objectively without applying as much meaning to it as you do. I think there might be an overemphasis on meaning here, on what things mean that happen in your life. There is purpose, there is meaning, but it's supposed to be balanced with a lack of, or with a 3D experience that is sensory, and you don't want to overvalue or fixate on this abstract observation. So yeah, let me make sure we're still recording. Okay, I don't know why I'm so stuck on that. Yeah, of course I was thinking of gold nuggets. This looks like a little nugget. Yeah, sometimes things are just in front of you. This nugget comes, it drips on the flower. And yeah, cosmic magic is what this is. Incomprehensible, unexpected magic that we observe, but we don't overemphasize. My balance video. Oh yeah. There's a balance video I did like a month ago or something, and it talks about, there's a pile that talks about this like balance of living in the 3D reality and experiencing the 5D and finding more of a groundedness in Earth and in life as we know it. Okay, so that movie, Life as We Know It, just popped into my head about those two people who end up taking care of a baby and just life happening so unexpectedly, literally the last thing they could expect. And how in the world would they expect that to happen? That tragic turn of events, that their friends passed and they ended up taking care of the baby. I mean, when you look at that, you're like, of course they shouldn't have seen that coming. That's like so heartbreaking, and how would anyone? And I think with events in your life, unexpected ones, not tragic ones like that, I'm seeing it. That was an extreme example. How would you see that coming? From an outsider's perspective, why would you? Of course you wouldn't. So I think that's a way of looking at even these small things. Like, yeah, you can try and piece it together, these subconscious inklings, but however would you know? Okay. Interesting, pile one. So I guess let's see. Okay, so let's see, what does pile one need to know from their subconscious? What other details can come up? Magician, the world. Okay, this is cool. So something really unexpected and big and beautiful is happening in your life. And it was something that you didn't see yourself manifesting. You didn't see it coming up. I think you thought you were being logical and had, kind of a little bit of a cynical view on how things would turn out. And something massively beautiful is happening. And this is on a soul level. This is like a soul celebration. And I think it's going to be the end of a chapter, a psychic chapter into a new one. I'm not thinking of this like worldly, like graduating college or something like this, but it could be. But I'm seeing it more as like the end of a series of lessons or the beginning of this fulfilling time. This fulfilling event is just gonna astound you. You don't see it coming. And maybe it's in your subconscious right now. But it will transfer as it's meant to. There's almost like a cockiness that Spirit's laughing at, that's like, you think you know what's manifesting. You feel like you have this idea, this control over your life, and you're just going to step back and be like, what the heck? And I think this whole experience is going to be very humbling. Very humbling in the sense that you had no control over it, but look at the gifts that you're being blessed with by the universe. Yeah, totally humbling. Now I'm hearing electrifying from Greece. Okay, so what else for pile one? You don't need more. I think that you're meant to practice a mindset of abundance, because I really see this being just the most abundant time, like harvest happening. The Hanged Man and the Four of Pentacles. So yeah, you're really meant to leave this lack mentality. I think this period though is going to help you really I think you've had a period of reflection over past events, that you're coming into a new chapter where you're going to be letting those go. You're going to be letting go of reflection you'd been doing for a long time on things that you'd already analyzed, you'd already learned from, you'd already grown from, and maybe they were keeping you a little stuck. And with this period, this new chapter is allowing you to let those things go. This is very cool. This is newness. Stuff that was with you all along but hadn't come into this reality for you. Oh my god. The back of the deck is the Sun. Yeah, something really beautiful is happening here. Something that is completely fulfilling. Something you didn't see coming. Something that takes you outside of yourself and your self-analysis and allows you to let it go. This is something that's grounding you more into the 3D. This is so beautiful. Is there anything else we need to can we know about this? 9 of Swords, Ace of Swords. Okay, so the universe is really telling you that your thought process is in your hands. You really don't have to overthink this. You can have clarity that it's coming, clarity that beautiful things are coming in, clarity you're going the right way, and you don't need to overthink it, reflect on it, analyze it. You can live with self-assurance and fulfillment and knowing you're headed the right way. Even if you can't see it grounded yet, it's becoming grounded. September is standing out to me. Yes, so pile one, I'm really happy for you. And yeah, this is what your subconscious wanted to reveal. And it also doesn't feel like September. Maybe it feels like the next 9 months. But I'm seeing an accruing happening here, building, things coming together. So it's not like a magical event happens. Or maybe it does, but I see it growing over time. So yeah, pile one, this is what I'm getting for you. It was a beautiful treat for you. I feel so energized, which is always so nice after a reading. And I'll see you in another, I wanted to say pile, but reading. Okay, bye. Hey, pile two. This is your reading on subconscious messages becoming conscious. So I feel like there's noises happening today, but outside, bear with me. My cat, I gave her some treats so that she would settle during this reading. And that already makes me feel like treat yourself. You know, sometimes we restrain from like allowing ourselves to have a little fun or like play instead of work. Obviously we need to work, but there's some play here that I am really feeling. So let's look at your oracle cards. We have the Sun, Path of the Heart, the Kiss, and Keeper of Surrender. For some reason in my head, You Give Love a Bad Name is coming up. Yeah, subconscious messages here. I mean, this is like very beautiful. I think there's joy, there's happiness in your life that you're really meant to let consume you. Let this happiness light you up. I think, yeah, there's something with restraint here about like allowing yourself to be happy, allowing yourself to experience this fully. And what your subconscious is saying, we want to be thrilled by this. We want to be moved. We want to really enjoy this and enjoy what life has to offer. The Sun always reminds me of life force. And obviously the Kiss is passion, and the Heart just ties in exactly with these things. More than anything, I'm really feeling you're just meant to celebrate where your life's at right now. I think you have, and also I think that you're meant to, when you're on these waves of happiness, when you're excited about things, when you're stimulated, when you want to look up, like go somewhere, or do something, it's not something to put off. It's something to experience in the moment. And I think it's easy to be like, oh, but I have to figure this out. I don't deserve, I like need to be serious right now. I need to worry about this or do this. This is really inviting you to enjoy these moments and ride with them, ride with these waves, because I'm really seeing a lot of happiness coming into your life. And I think it's in all areas of your life. And, you know, your passion in knowledge, there's something here about like learning from the world and learning even different cultures and different, for some reason, like stories of creation or like creation of the world seem relevant here. Like learning different, I don't know, indigenous spirituality and stories. And so when I went to the Met a couple years ago, and they were doing a Mayan, well, I've been since then, but they were doing a Mayan Incan religion exhibit where they had all of this pottery and all of these different shrines for their gods. And a god that they really revered or worshipped was the sun god. And I remember reading that the Mayans would do a ritual every morning to make sure that the sun rose, and that they had that reverence for life, that in that ecstasy of the sun rising, like how like beautiful and ecstatic of an event is that for you to feel like you are part of the sun rising? Like, what a connection to life And obviously, like, that's, I mean, they had such limited knowledge, but they chose the perspective that gave them the most joy, that gave them, like, what a beautiful start to your day, thinking you, like, helped make this happen. So there's something here, maybe not delusional optimism, but allowing yourself to be optimistic when there's other stories you could tell yourself that are negative. Allowing yourself to find this light. It feels like you have been practicing this and learning how, or at least continuing to practice this positive mindset. But I think there's something about waves coming in of enjoyment and stimulation and wanting things, just like desires that make you happy, and you're meant to allow yourself to go towards them. And like, this makes me feel like with the sun and the lightness, like going towards like high vibrational things that you know are good for you. I think it's very important to separate, dark impulses and light impulses, like having the desire for something that isn't good for you. But this is following the path of like good things for you. And yeah, this color is very pretty. I think this could, maybe look out for whenever you see a color like this, and it's like a wink from the universe being like, hey, what's up? Okay, so there's also here kind of a hyper-awareness of existing, like a consciousness of watching yourself exist and being like, am I doing this in the right way? Is this how, like, am I doing this weirdly? Am I weird? And I think it's really important to prioritize this happiness over that. Surrender to the good that's coming in. Yeah, I was talking to somebody yesterday about how I get this really, a tool I've learned in my life is when I get a very anxious feeling, I am able to observe it and be like, I can surrender this, I have no control over this, that I have, and I believe that the universe is looking out for me and I can't see the full picture. And like, we can surrender anything. We can surrender, like, I don't know why I'm so happy. I don't know why I feel so good. Part of my nature wants to run from this, doesn't trust it, but I can surrender to it and trust that the universe is bringing this in for good. Oh my God. Now I'm thinking of the Wizard of Oz song. I don't know if I've been changed for the better, but because I knew you, I'm changed for good. I mean, it's definitely one of those things where it can be hard to, it's like a dialectic, right? Like being happy, but also being sad because you know that moment won't last forever. This feels like maybe a tendency to worry about when the moment will end. And what I like about that sun rising analogy is, yes, the sunset, it gets dark, like night falls, but when you wake up, like cyclically, the light comes again. And I think that this kind of life, death, abstract pattern is something you're meant to find more comfortability in. and not for like anything other than for your happiness, for your quality of life. Yeah. It's fun. I like the Path of the Heart. It has, family, but it also has a unicorn. And I think this is a dragon. And you're allowed to have this bliss that doesn't always feel realistic in the harsh circumstances we're living in. It's the same half glass half full, glass half empty. Glass is 2 times the size it needs to be. I'm so thankful to have the glass. Okay, so let's look at what subconscious messages want to become conscious for pile 2. Magician, Son of Swords, 4 of Pentacles, 3 of Swords. Don't rush it at all. We feel these moments of urgency, these feelings of, I need this right now. And that's kind of an example of the, going towards negative things, feeling that negative attraction towards things that are bad for you. When you feel that urgency immediately, like it needs to happen right now, there's cause for concern. Then, you need to take a step back and be like, why do I want this so urgently right now? And there can be good reasons for it. Like, I just really like this thing or person and I'm feeling overwhelmed by that. But there's also like, I'm trying to fill this hole, or I'm unsatisfied. I need a distraction or a relief. And so that observation is very important. And I think you've rushed into things before, and you know how it feels for those things to fall away when it happens that quickly and kind of unintentionally. Like, yeah, you're at a place in your life where you have stability, where new things coming in, this happiness too. Look, the color is the same as the ones we were looking at. The sacral chakra, I think, is important here, and solar plexus. If you ever meditate on them, I think those are chakras that need aligning for you during this time. I listened to a resonance meditation that's chakra based, that each song goes up different chakras, and I always feel like it's balancing me out. Sound bowls, frequencies. So yeah, I recommend that. Go as slow as you need to here. Pace yourself. You can walk on this firm foundation. I think there might even be fear of like, am I too restrained, or should I be jumping more into this? Or like, can I? And I think there's not a right answer. I think whatever makes you in your solar plexus and sacral chakra feel aligned. When you feel balanced and you feel like this is the way to go, that's exactly the path you're meant to go down. I've talked before about how like the root chakra rising reminds me of Maslow's pyramid, how you need the root chakra regulated for the sacral chakra to have that foundation, and it goes up. And I think for the heart to feel safe, the sacral and solar plexus need to be balanced. And I think your heart is in awakening right now. Is in awakening. So yeah, that balance is important. And meditation, calmness, not feeling like things need to be rushed. And what's kind of beautiful here is I don't think you feel things need to be. But you are being reminded of how you hold on tight to things, and maybe you're holding on tight right now to the life you have because you're scared of losing that stability. But kind of what the universe is doing is bringing this in slowly to be in alignment with that stability. And just because this is slow doesn't mean it's beautiful. Doesn't mean it's not beautiful and ecstatic and all those things we were talking about before. This is just like healthy moderation, being intentional with the things in your life that you care about. So yeah, pile 2, I think this is where I want to stop. I really enjoyed reading this, and I will see you soon. Bye. Hey, pile 3, if you chose this pyrite tower, then this is your reading on subconscious messages becoming conscious. So we are going to start with pre-shuffled oracle cards and just see what wants to come up today. So we have the Dead End, Raven's Head, Keeper of the Wild, and Let Go. Cool. This is very, very cool because this is talking about, I feel like there's or in my experience, actually this is, I think, general experience of life. We have that civilized self, but we also have that wild self, that primal self that feels energetically, instinctively pulled towards things, that wants to be able to like run like wild in the forest and like not be caught up in societal matters. But both are needed. Both, you know, in this world we live in, we need to have this civilized nature. It's something we crave when we're in community, but we have to also embrace and let out this wild nature. And that's something our society kind of tries, like, just isn't as open about, you know, want to stick to order and routine and this civilized, just like not doing things that aren't productive, maybe, in the capitalistic sense. But I really feel like the wild is that soulful life and a fulfilling life. It's a balance. But I do think that maybe right now you're struggling with feeling secure in this expression of your wild life because you feel this disapproval from society of like, you should be living this way and doing things XYZ, and this is the normal way to move through life. And that's an illusion. There's no normal way to move through life. We've just been taught certain ways and certain patterns, and I think you're in a period right now where you're meant to be free, or you're meant to enjoy where life is taking you and not feel bad about that. Because I'm seeing like your soul force, your life force, whatever you're doing is making you feel very alive. And I don't know, it's easy to see people just kind of like going through the motions and not having this aliveness, just kind of existing in reality because they're too embodied in that civilized self and like how they should be, how they are expected to be, the rules and norms and conditions of life, which are important to, we need limits in existence to operate as a society. But you're allowed to feel empowered in the fact that you're living with this freedom and doing something that feels free. And there might be something right now that's coming up in this this civilized nature where you feel like you're running into a dead end, where something isn't working out civilized or like isn't going the way it's like societally traditionally meant to. And that's because whatever this thing is meant to be free and grow and be wild, like in this wild nature. And that's going to breathe life back into it. I think that whatever this thing is something you're tired of. It's been a drain on you, and it can't stay in the same state it's been in. So right now, your wild self is working on your civilized self to bring this life back into it. So although it looks scary, and from a civilized lens, it's exactly what needed to happen to unlock your wild nature and unlock that feeling of freedom in self and not having to do everything by the rules necessarily. So this is so cool. I love this card. It talks about how whenever the raven swallows the pearl, there's no going back. Life has taken its course. Now whatever's meant to happen with that will. And it reminds me of tripping and like taking mushrooms, taking like a tab and going on that trip. And when you take it, you've chosen for yourself to spend that length of time in that state of consciousness, in that state of life. And maybe there's something that you have swallowed, metaphorically, that is going to be a certain amount of time, and you're meant to be free in it. And enjoy it, and enjoy that state of consciousness, even though it's not as like dramatic as tripping, obviously, and having a completely different mind-altering state. There is something expressive here that's really going to balance you because right now you're going to be leaning more into this wild state, this primal, but it's good for your civilized self when you come back to that, when you I don't know, sometimes mushroom trips are very enlightening and help people rebalance when they come down. And that's something that is happening. Maybe when you go back to this civilized life, you'll have this fresh perspective. And it's all balance related. Like the civilized self isn't bad. Civilized life isn't bad. It's, it's a beautiful part of existence and having community and being able to pursue, like there's so many opportunities within living in a society. But it needs to be balanced with this soulfulness, because without this wild nature, that civilized nature gets dried out and needs relief. And maybe so there's, in Women Who Run with the Wolves, there's this chapter about a woman, a seal, who at night, like the seals would take off their seal skin and they'd be women dancing naked in the moonlight. on a rock. And one of the seals got her sealskin taken by a man, and she was like kind of he was like, I'll give you your sealskin back if you come and be my wife for a time, which is like so fucked. But it's a psychic, it's like about the psyche. It's not actually like that happening. It's this civilized self being like, come here, I will take care of you, I will let you lead a life in this world. And then eventually she gets so tired and just like craves that sealskin and ends up going back to it. And it's this very beautiful story of like coming into life, living life on life's terms, and then moving into this soulful life. And the book talks about doing that with art and with walking in nature, doing anything that really lifts up the soul, makes you feel fulfilled in an otherworldly way. And yeah, I think maybe your sealskin just got really dry. You weren't wearing it, you weren't swimming in this artistic pool, or you hadn't really been able to. You were really caught up in living on land. And it's time to like let yourself enjoy this moment. And you'll go back. We all wear our sealskin, come back to life, go back to the art. I think also just understanding these as separate kind of consciousness, separate kind of modes of existing can be liberating, because it's easy to combine it all. And it's nice to know what choices we're making intentionally, like moving from the sealskin to humanness and then back, and you know what I mean. So we're gonna look at tarot cards for what else your subconscious wants to say. So back of the deck we have the Chariot. And this is like a wild horse. And wild horses are meant to run and roam and explore. Oh, and the Fool, which is like another. Yeah, enjoy this. Enjoy this wildness. The Father of Pentacles, 5 of Swords in reverse, 8 of Swords, 5 of Wands, Daughter of Pentacles. Okay, so there's the logical, realistic, civilized part of you that is taking this metaphorical mushroom and going on this trip. And you're like, oh shit, like now I'm experiencing this. Like there's no going back. I've made this decision to alter my reality for this set of time. And what's cool here is it's like this period, you're just meant to surrender and experience it and go with the flow. And you will come back to this self. You're not losing the self you started with, but you will be changed for the better. You will, I think, have more of an optimistic, not naive, because that's not the right word, innocent view of existence. In this book, I'm also talking about, she talks about how naivety is knowing nothing and still having hope, and having complete hope, and innocence is knowing everything and having hope. And it also talks about that moment in sleep whenever, like, you could be like the meanest, cruelest person, and when you see someone like in deep sleep at night, you just like see their innocence, their vulnerability. And I think that this is a trust exercise that you're going on, whatever this is. And your civilized self is kind of like, what the heck? But it's going to be so good for you. And I think the best way to experience this is with the surrender of being like, okay, just took this mushroom. Let's see. I know that the next 4 hours, 6 hours, I'm going to be in this state. I'm surrendering to that because it also isn't permanent. And I will come back with new insights, new change. And maybe it's okay to come back slightly different. Maybe your ego is scared of, losing progress, losing things. And I just feel like this innocence, this like beauty towards life is such a gift. And your ego is scared of going on this journey because maybe you have some things in your life or like values that are like, oh, I need to be this like strong and I don't know, just like subconscious values of your civilized nature of being egoically successful, something like that. But really what your soul and what your wild nature is wanting is for you to slip into this more liberated perspective. Because they work on each other, these natures of us, and it's like the subconscious and the conscious mind interacting. We gain knowledge and ideas and wisdom from the subconscious, and our conscious mind helps, keep the subconscious on track, keeps us as these humans on Earth with separate identities and egos and the ability to separate ourselves from our surroundings. So, yeah, this is beautiful. I think just surrender to the flow. This won't last. This is a moment. This is an experience in time. And yeah, I think after this happens as well, you're going to have a lot of clarity on where you're headed and what you want. So, yes, this is what I'm seeing for you, pile 3. See you soon. Bye. Hey, pile 4, if you chose this beautiful crystal, then this is your reading on subconscious messages that want to become conscious. So it's been a while since I filmed the first few piles. I felt kind of like, it just wasn't time yet to film this pile. And I've been thinking about it throughout the last few days or however long it's been. And there's something so vital about this pile and living life just as like a free creature of the earth. So I'm excited to see what the subconscious has to say. We have Tear, my dear, Blood, Sanctuary, and Perception. So Poetry by Deadman is playing in my head by Sarah Bareilles. So off the bat, this is, as I said, this reading feels very vital. The tear and blood are natural processes of the human body. And, sanctuary, when you think about a human existing on this planet, bare to the bone sort of survival, you need food, water, and a place to live. You need shelter. So There's something here, Pyle, for about how convoluted life has gotten and how it's like, oh, we need all of these things. We need success here. We need all of this paperwork. We need, and like, I mean, it's important. Like, we need healthcare. We need insurance. We need all these things. But it's like all these extra things that aren't essential to life, although like we're so lucky to have them. I'm not saying not to have them, but I'm saying more so life, really, people can exist with shelter, with these natural processes of life, and all of those things aren't necessities, they are privileges. And I think that, I mean, perception here, obviously, that's a perspective shift on looking at those things because they feel so crucial and essential. And it's kind of weird to look at it in that way. It's like, well, human life really can survive and flourish off of a few things. Okay, so I just listened to the best audiobook I've listened to in a very, very long time, called Project Hail Mary, and it's about to be a movie, but I recommend the book. The book is so well detailed and beautiful, and it's an outer space epic about human and alien contact, and there's so much detail about the human body compared to this alien body, and how humans leak water and like how that's just a process of the human body, and how our blood, how our systems circulate. I mean, spoiler, but that's not how alien life functioned. That's not how alien bodies in this book function. So there's something about coming back into your body here and living fully without all of these caveats of we need this, the kind of things that society pushes on us. We need to have all these things figured out. And this is true. It's true that in our society, these things are privileges, but it's more so having that perspective shift that life is this sacred, simple thing in a way that has its own natural processes, that our body cares for us. Our body knows how to function to keep us alive. We are protected in that way. And the earth provides sanctuary. We are protected by the earth. So I think maybe there's also a level of feeling unprotected, of feeling kind of frightened in the society of vulnerability. And I think that your subconscious wants you to think about how at a core essential level, at exactly as humans need to survive, you are protected. And all these other things are kind of human constructed ideas that we all believe in, so they become real. There's this book, it's about like the evolution of humanity, from I wish I remembered what it's called. I'll look it up and drop a title. But it's very good, and it talks about how, businesses, government, all of these things are ideas, abstract ideas that everyone believes in, so they become true. These things are formed by collective belief, and they aren't physical. They aren't kind of essential, crucial. They're additive to life. They're additions made. And it's almost as though Spirit's saying, or your subconscious is saying, spend a day only focused on this vitality of life flowing through your veins, of having this protection, of having the crucial, necessary things to exist, and kind of not ignore or avoid those other parts of life, but more so put your focus on this. And I think you'll feel a rush of life and existence that feels very liberating. These kind of look like eyes to me. It's like literally living your sensory experience, literally living under the sun as someone. I'm even thinking just like of hunters and gatherers and how they existed and operated in the world, how indigenous tribes and rainforests and just all terrain operated with such a connection to the natural world. I'm even thinking of paganism and how I've been interested. It's so interesting how paganism was such a prevalent way of, being spiritual in this world, and how other religions dominated and kind of erased those religions. And paganism is very much connecting to the spirituality of nature, and certain spots would be these sacred spots, like a sacred well or a sacred waterfall, and they'd really hold those in reverence and have gods associated with these places. And it was very in the same way as indigenous communities. It was very personal and built around whatever small community they were in. And so it makes sense that this big collective massive religion that had been believed by so many people, been told as truth, could dominate such small little pockets of expression, which makes sense too with like colonization and how the United States wiped out Native American populations. And yeah, so not to laugh, it just, this is maybe about getting back into this individual expression, not needing to be part of this dominant culture we're told to be a part of, more so living in this individualistic, soulful connection to reality. Okay, so let's look at some tarot cards. I don't know why it took me so long to do this reading. It was like, it just felt like this material was going to be so important that I needed to give it time to grow on its own and develop. And I just finished the Hail Mary book yesterday, and that felt really relevant to this reading. So, things need to play out. Things need to happen before it's time for these beautiful revelations and experiences to happen. So it's like letting them play out, I guess, and enjoying that experience. I really liked that book, and there was a part of me that was like, dang, I really want to get this reading, this pile done. I feel like so ready to have this happen, but that wasn't the way that life was flowing. And it was something I chose to honor and wait. So let's see. What messages want to come up from Bioforce Subconscious? We have the Ten of Cups, the Tower, the Devil, Temperance, and the Ace of Wands. I mean, 3 major arcana here. This is obviously like essential life wisdom and knowledge. And I've also just been thinking about how I haven't been feeling like doing readings like very often. They feel like they come and they're pretty significant. And there's something about honoring that quality over quantity here. And that bringing fulfillment. And there's something about all of like these difficult things, these things that cause us anxiety, things on earth that aren't, that are really difficult and hard. Those existing and making life feel out of balance and shake it up and difficult. And it's still being true that there's this beauty and passion and ultimate fulfillment, and both exist at once. And neither one cancels out the other. Like, these difficult things are inevitable, but we have this passion and life force and beauty. And I mean, it's the light battling the dark, right? Like, and we choose which one we feed. We choose the good wolf or the bad wolf within us, which one we feed. And we can accept that these difficult things happen and mourn and feel that pain, and also choose to focus on the beauty around us and not let this win. And I think a big way to find balance, because this is so imbalancing and dysregulating, is to lean towards this joy, what fulfills you, what gives you this spark of hope. And I think that that's something you can find in nature, in spirituality, in this vitalness of life, the vitality of life. And that's something where our minds get very caught up in all of this. And to find this passion, this fulfillment, we have to kind of let go of thoughts and just live in presence and in sensory experience. And but this fills us up, like, this charges us to be able to handle these situations with more tact and balance, so we feel less overwhelmed by those things. So yeah, your subconscious really wants you to lean into this natural ecstasy of life, the basics. And when you lean into that, you can handle these human constructed, human created parts of life with more power. Yeah, you just come at it with more power and more balance. And yeah, this has been really cool. I really liked this reading. I could keep going, but the answer just feels, or what your subconscious is saying feels so simple, but powerful. Yeah, don't be afraid to live in your individual relationship with the world and with your spirituality and with how you perceive things and live. And you don't need to follow what the dominant culture tells you need to follow. You can carve your own path and own way of perceiving things. And I think that's how you find color and beauty in your life, is by allowing yourself to have this freedom. So, pile 4, this was really cool. I feel really affirmed in this and just happy. And that's it. I'll see you soon. Bye.